sit on transaction business for which you must be ready. All persons having business for the zone of the court draw lines in the system, you shall be heard. God save the United States, state of Tennessee, this honorable court. On Martin Pittsburgh presiding, please be seated.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Is there anything we need to address preliminarily?
Judge, I have redacted the original transcript of Ms. Jacobson's testimony, as well as a redacted version of thumb drive that I believe is going to be collected in Exhibit 75.
I've got it as 73A and B.
73A and B. Okay. And that's what. And the only question is, would Your Honor, for any reason, want us to file the unredacted 2 pages?
I don't see any reason necessary.
That's fine. We'll just have them.
All right. Are we ready to bring out the jury?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, bring them on in.
Yes, sir. Line up, Steve.
Yeah. No.
No.
Jason, Roger wants to use the overhead during his...
That overhead or the computer?
the overhead.
This, and that'll project on the big TV. I already have it.
Okay. I'm good. It's just easier to preload. That's all. Yeah, okay. We're good.
Oh, yeah, no, they won't go back. Yeah. Yeah, really don't want you going back. Oh, and number 4. Something. That whole state got it. Be seated, please. Good morning, members of the jury. I've heard that we went through some, I don't know, breathing exercises, meditation, and all sorts of stuff last night. We have a trainer on the staff now. Good. You're hired, you can say. We'll continue to keep you up here for future juries. And was there any birthday surprises? How did that go? Not as wild as you wanted it to get. All right. But at your age, they can get wild. I mean, mine, wild is 9 o'clock. All right, are we ready to go with proceed with closing arguments?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Members of the jury, let me make one comment or one observation before closing arguments begin. As I indicated to you previously, what the attorneys say is not evidence. you can take any notes you want on what they say in closing arguments. Just make sure that you clearly mark it as statements of counsel so you don't get it confused with the evidence in the case. All right.
Please, the court. Members of the jury. I think it goes without saying that your service as jurors on this case is certainly appreciated by the state of Tennessee, I'm sure the defense attorneys, and the citizens of Davidson County. Serving on a jury is really one of the few things that, ask citizens to do. Some people live their whole lives here and never get a summons, never get to serve. Others, maybe once, twice, smaller counties, perhaps any number of times. But I suspect that this will be an experience that you will not soon forget, if ever. There are a lot of Waffle Houses around, and I can't imagine that, at least for the foreseeable future, when you drive past one, see one, that this case won't come back into your mind. And I say that because I can only imagine the survivors, the families, anyone connected with this case having to live with that for the rest of their lives. Because of the actions of one man. One man, who I submit to you, the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt, and actually I would submit beyond any doubt, is the person who committed these acts. But part of your duty is to not just accept that because he has been charged, and that relieves the state of its obligation. You heard from many witnesses. I think about 29 witnesses called by the state to prove the facts of this case, because that is our burden. And if you put up, I'm not going to dwell on that, and I do not intend to belabor any of the arguments in this case. And one thing I do want to point out, just because I am putting up a few select portions of the charge does not mean that these are more important than others. I think the judge will tell you you're to take the jury instructions as a whole. No one part is more important than another. But for the purpose of argument, which is what this is, reasonable doubt. The state has the burden of proof. That's the same in every case, be it shoplifting, burglary, first-degree murder, of proving the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And absolute certainty, this is the phrase that I would submit comes into play throughout the course of this case. Absolute certainty is not required, but moral certainty is required. And have we not heard that phrase? Something being immoral, it would be an immoral act to convict someone when the proof is not there. That is sort of a basic tenet, I submit, in our lives and in human behavior. Morality, knowing right from wrong. It would be wrong to convict someone with a lesser standard than what is required by the law. And that is the point we'd make with that. Hold the state, review the evidence. I submit the state has proven, and quite frankly, even in an opening statement, the defense has told you that they did not contest that Travis Reinking was the person who did this mass murder, and but for James Shaw, the death count certainly would have been higher. I may come back to that in a moment. But that's where we are in the sense of the criminal law, submit to you, is based upon reviewing facts, applying the law as the judge will give it to you, and making that determination of what's right and wrong. And I submit to you on behalf of the state of Tennessee, it would be wrong not to convict Travis Reinking of all 16 counts in this indictment. His defense is one of that he should be held blameless for his actions. But let's just see what the law is and what he did with respect to the first-degree murder. I know we did not talk about elements all that much. It's been mentioned many times, but as far as what the state has to prove, and I just put up the first one. Obviously, there are other counts for Taurean Sanderlin, Akilah Dasilva, and DeEbony Groves. But this is the start. That's why it has Joe Perez. Unlawfully killed the victims. Joe, Taurean, Akilah, DeEbony. No legal justification, in other words. It was against the law. Intentionally. Every step that this man took was intentional. Every step. This was no accident. This was no mistake. He intended to do exactly what he did. And all along the way, there were choices. And he's the one who made those choices. The 22 or so people who were at that Waffle House had no choice. They were there, some by working, others by happenstance. Joe Perez because of a flat tire. Their choices and Mr. Reinking's choices are so at odds. They did not choose to be his victims. He chose them. That the killing was premeditated. The intent to kill formed before the act. And it doesn't have to be any specific period of time. It could be formed in an instant for that matter. But here we have proof, and you've heard, Mr. Reinking thought about this, thought about doing a similar type of acts a long time before. And even in that time when he's sitting in the truck, that's time. And when it talks about the form premeditation, capable of premeditation, even if he had been excited at the time he fired the shots when he blew Joe Perez's brains out, gunned down Taurean Sanderlin like he was on some hunting expedition. If he was excited, wouldn't have mattered because he'd planned to do it ahead of time. He had premeditated ahead of time. But you know from seeing the videos, he was not in a state of excitement. Cold, calculated killer. So, has the state proven the elements of a premeditated first-degree murder? I submit, yes, beyond any reasonable doubt. Attempted first-degree murder. And again, we've been perhaps so focused or not mentioned enough, perhaps, of what serious bodily injury is. It's the same, the attempt. Did he attempt to kill Shanita Waggoner, Sharita Henderson, Akilah Shaw, and James Shaw Jr.? Certainly. His intent was to kill everyone in that place and then move on. But serious bodily injury, you saw the catastrophic battle-type injuries, war wounds suffered by Shanita and Sharita. Look at that. Substantial risk of death, yes. Many times you might have one or two of these. Substantial risk of death. Extreme physical pain. Being shot by an assault rifle with essentially exploding bullets. Protracted or obvious disfigurement. They will live with that the rest of their lives. Every morning they wake up, through the day, at night before going to sleep, if they can sleep. They know they have been disfigured for life. Substantial impairment or function of a bodily member, organ, or mental facilities. Absolutely. When you have to learn how to not use your dominant hand and being an artist. I mean, how worse can it be short of death? Those are the counts. And he used a firearm in each and every one. The last four counts are the alternative counts of felony murder. That Joe, Perez, Taurean, Sanderlin, Akilah Dasilva, and DeEbony Groves were killed during the perpetration of when he was attempting to commit first-degree murder on others. That's essentially it. It does not require, for these counts, necessary premeditation. It's a legal aspect. It's just, did he kill them while he was trying to kill someone else? Yes. And as far as Akilah Shaw and James Shaw, theirs, thankfully for them, do not include the serious bodily injury. Did they suffer bodily injury? Certainly. Certainly. And will they live with it the rest of their lives? Yes. As I submit, perhaps all of us in this courtroom and many watching remotely. You heard officers and witnesses, people who were there, I submit at times struggling to find the words to describe what they saw when they arrived at this scene and what they saw that Travis Reinking had done. Everything from war zone. Horrific. The words that, how do you describe something so horrible, much less live through it? But I submit, members of the jury, the one word which ties back to moral certainty and the foundation of criminal law, this was an evil act. Evil. And who described it as that? Man in the blue shirt sitting behind me. He's the one. And what more apt description. He knew it was evil. He committed evil. And that takes us to the defense burden of insanity. And the judge will give you, again, the entire charge, all of the law that can apply to this case for you to consider. But burden of proof. State has a burden of proof, and if you, as a jury of 12, believe that the state has carried its burden, then you determine, is Travis Reinking blameless because he can meet the requirements of the insanity defense in the state of Tennessee? Submit no. Because that law has a high burden. I believe you heard the judge say that it's one of the examples is when the state is taking your child, your under 18 child, away from you, terminating your parental rights. One of the most sacred rights that we have as parents. Travis Reinking terminated the parental rights of the families of Joe Perez, Taurean Sanderlin, Akilah Dasilva, and DeEbony Groves. He terminated their parental rights. It is a high standard. For you to find this man blameless, you have to be convinced, clearly convinced, clear and convincing evidence that he had a severe mental disease or defect at the time. And listen, it was at the time of the shooting, at the time when he's driving up there, at the time when he's making that decision. Did he? Haven't disputed that. Yes. Schizophrenia is defined as a severe mental illness. He's been diagnosed with it for some years. Chose not to do anything about it, but you get choices. We have a lot of choices coming into play in this case. But be that as it may, yes. But that's not the end all. That is not the end all to this analysis. That word "and," 3 little letters that mean so much. And. That as a result, not just that he had a severe mental illness and killed people. That is no defense. But that as a result, a connection that you and you alone can make. He was not able to understand the nature of what he was doing. The nature. That's one thing, submit, everyone agrees on. He knew he was killing people. Now he draws them as stick figures a year later. They're people. There's no question about that. He knew. He knew. He knew when he put the plan in motion to get the revenge He was going to kill people, take something from them that could not be brought back, could not be given back, their lives. Or, see, we had an and the first time. This is an or. Because we've ruled out, he knew what the nature of what he was doing. He was shooting and killing people. To understand that what he was doing was wrong. The law does not distinguish between legal and moral wrongfulness. It is enough that he knew that it was wrong in some form or another. It's legally wrong to commit murder. It's morally wrong if you do not have a justification. There are other acts that are immoral that are not crimes. Some used to be. Times change. Definitions of mental illness change. But this law is what we go by. And if there is any one thing that says he knew this was morally wrong, it's evil. What he was doing was evil. We stand back, step back, submit, and look at those choices. He says, is this really what he was supposed to be doing? Conflicted, and we can get into all of the psycho testimony about God ordering this, the aliens and things. He has schizophrenia. Apparently he has an active imagination. He has a Taylor Swift attraction. Apparently he must have to stand in line for that, from what the doctors say. That's in and of itself not that unusual. Maybe the extremes, but again, that has nothing to do, submit, with did he know what he was doing when he killed these 4 innocent people, wounded others, put many lives in danger, in jeopardy. Did he know that was wrong? Did he know that was wrong? Of course he did. He tells you that in his own words. And the judge will give you an instruction about how to go about assessing things that were told to the doctors, and we've mentioned that a little bit about the background and the information. And they say, well, he just didn't know it was wrong. Heard the cross-examination, General Dowdy of Dr. Wood, which seemed like most every other answer that she had was, well, it can be, it can be. Well, certainly it can be, and in this case it was, that he knew it was wrong. And yes, they are both ordered by the court. The court chooses them, contract to do it. Going to get that instruction about how you weigh expert testimony, how you decide it, and that's, again, your call. Like everything, when you go back to that deliberation room, the 12 of you who decide this case, it's your call. That's the way the system works. You decide the facts. You decide whether the carnage that he inflicted upon these people, the community, was without any legal blame to assess to him. Assessing the expert testimony. It's the thing about dealing with what somebody's thinking. Dr. Deering can show you he's an expert, cite his opinions, and just like really would anybody else. But he can show you things. He could put up, here's an x-ray showing a bullet, showing how someone's insides have been exploded by the choice of weapon and ammunition used. He can corroborate that. Same thing with the firearms examination expert, DNA, scientific testing, scientific methods. And that's not to say that there are not methods, testing available in the mental health area. Oh, but if someone refuses to take those tests, you just move on and base it on your observations, your training, your experience, and your review of the materials that you have. Which brings us to Dr. Eisen. I would posit to you that no one was happier when General Norman stopped questioning her. She was cross-examined, I submit. You saw it, you heard it. Her opinion, I submit, was destroyed by the cross-examination of General Norman. As well it should have been. Even down to the, oh, no, I didn't watch the video of what happened outside. Couldn't get it to play. Couldn't get it to play. So. And then to say, oh, well, no, it wouldn't change my opinion. I've made my opinion. And nothing is going to change it in spite of any and all contradictions to the basis. Punishment. And we do circle around a little at odds in its jumping, but what goes through and was going through Travis Reinking's mind was evil. Some other words I believe he used, that he felt it was foreboding, sickening, unholy. That's all wrong. Wrong, 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 and he knew it. But he acted not out of, I submit, some command by God, Morgan Freeman, or because we know he'd been commanded according to him, and again, we're basing this on his telling of the events, that he was mad. He had plans to get this fancy BMW, load it up, sell his truck, go to Colorado, live the good life. Something doesn't sound so bad if your life is really not that great in the first place. And that YouTube video of him talking about the toilet seat and all that sort of stuff, if you notice, he had furniture in that. He had, same guitar there. He wasn't living on the street. Wasn't some, person who had to sleep in the truck or under a bridge. No. He had finances, apparently. He had things, computers, to occupy himself and to give voice to his perceived slights and things that he was not having but felt he was entitled to the extent of taking the BMW. Amazing the advances and the GPS tracking and all of the things. So fortunately, Ms. Jacobson did not try to resist any more than she did while she was being carjacked. She was a victim of a crime of violence. But she made the choice of letting go. She knew he had a tracking device and they'll get the car back. Almost got it back real quickly, except that he fled from the police, got away, and they back off, as certainly appropriate. They knew as well, we'll find it eventually. They did, outside his apartment, where he'd taken the decal, the sticker, how much it is, and all of the things that you see on new cars. He'd taken that off. Why? Submit. Knowledge of wrongfulness. Could be. Hiding the fact that it's a new car. Without even probably dealer tags on it, but getting ready to go, but they got it back too quickly, and that made him mad. So, enacting some method of revenge. There, its car is taken back. His car is taken away from him. So, what's he say? I'm going to take something from them that they can't get back. Lives. Revenge. Raging against the world is some things people do vocally. Say, I'm being mistreated, the world's against me. It's fine. Not everyone has the perfect life. I'm not sure anyone does, if you really get down to it. But we have the opportunity for that. We have choices. We have the ability, if we have sufficient intellect and abilities to make choices. There is no question but that Mr. Reinking is an intelligent person, average if not above IQ. A talented person, I submit. A crane operator. Heard Detective Summerall, which, again, a lot of this coincidences, but coincidentally, he had been trained as a crane operator, and your mind can't wander if you're doing that with other people's lives at risk. I submit. What he says. Mr. Reinking was able to do that periodically, get paid for it. Did he have acts on occasion, called into question whether he needed treatment? Yes, certainly. But on this occasion, at the time of the commission of these evil acts, he made the choice after reflecting upon it and weighing, submit the possibilities. This was no command delusion, no alien delusion, because if it was, he would have not, submit, had any second thoughts. He would not have had any internal discussions about it being evil, sickening. One of the instructions that you will hear is about flight. And ties into a couple of things. The reason I put it up, it's the law. Flight, voluntary withdrawal of oneself for the purpose of evading arrest or prosecution. What more clear, submit, evidence of that was talk of every alphabet agency known to man was in on this event trying to capture Travis Reinking. He was hiding out, leaving the scene of the difficulty, and a subsequent hiding out, evasion, or concealment. He did all that. Literally hundreds of officers, helicopters, and he was able to avoid detection for some 33 hours. That's a long time, ladies and gentlemen, when you got that much law enforcement bearing down upon you. As on the other hand, an entirely innocent person may take flight, may be explained by proof offered, which is back to the mental health experts. Oh, well, police were after him anyway. He would have already fled. But remember, one of the things he said that when he got back to his apartment, changing, putting on clothes, showering, getting ready, here's the sirens outside. The law is on the way. Time to get out of here, pack my go bag, and see if I can avoid apprehension. Gun, silver bars, the other things, water bottles. And he did for quite some time. And again, in assessing, that's fine, thank you. In assessing all of this evidence of what he did and why he did it, so as to excuse his conduct, says, well, everything can be explained. Oh, he surrendered, followed commands. He did not fight. He did not act like anyone who was in a psychotic episode of Smith. Yeah. And I would submit that if you think about it, the procedure he went through in the hospital, if everybody is out, if everybody's CIA, hacking, doing all these things, that would have been the time to, no, you're not going to do that to me. I complied. Or when Detective Clare goes to him to say, I need some of your bodily, cells. If you're paranoid, you're going to say, oh, sure, go ahead. I'll, swab my cheeks and be compliant. Now, he's just the, how did Dr. Eisen describe him? Polite young man, ready to be released. Say choices, and I'm going to not be much longer. I know y'all appreciate that, but these were choices made by a grown man who was living not the best life, but he was living a life of choices. choice of which Waffle House to go to or to go back. And, yeah. But he made a choice, and several choices, that he tells you that weren't direct commands from God or whatever. Well, God says go shoot people. Well, does he mean, oh, paintball gun? Does he mean a camera? Oh, well, I have a number of items I can choose from. Actually, I don't know if you want to cut that off. It's a little... Okay, thank you. What did he choose? His bolt-action, small game rifle, the plinking gun, the 22, holds, what, 5 or 6 rounds in its little magazine with the scope. No. Or even the deer rifle, the 30-06 with the scope. This, whether you want to characterize it as sniper rifle, use at a concert, or whatever, but yeah, the hunting rifle, the deer rifle, no. The pistol, no. Maybe not that good a shot, but save that for another day. No, he chose a human hunting weapon, a semi-automatic assault style rifle, loaded with a magazine containing 30 of these. 30. Exploding bullets. Human killing bullets. Each one of these, I submit, ladies and gentlemen, could represent another dead human being, but for James Shaw Jr. He saw an opportunity and he took it, while this man was out of ammunition from the first. In that moment where the magazine has to be taken out, and he's in his jacket with the 2 other magazines. What choice, what a great choice that James Shaw Jr. made to fight him, to take the rifle away, to be burned. And these went unused. Lives saved. That was a choice. Travis Reinking did not get to continue his carnage of shooting and shooting, not just 3, not just that, for some reason, that sign. He wasn't going to stop until he was stopped. Submit, we all have choices between right and wrong, good or evil, moral or immoral. And I submit the proof in this case is that Travis Reinking committed these crimes, is guilty of these crimes, and he has not in any way, shape, form, or fashion presented any clear and convincing evidence to the contrary. Both sides have a burden of proof. You'll hold the state to its, I know. And if you hold the defense to theirs, based upon what you heard from Dr. Wood, Dr. Eisen, and the evidence they presented, this man committed murder. He is guilty as charged. He is not legally blameless for these actions that destroyed so many lives. Thank you.